Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bitch Up. Lucy, are you okay?
Sorry, we just had a moment off screen and I started thinking about it again. Anyways, how
Oh my
y'all doing?
God.
We're back.
Yeah, we're
Did you
back.
just miss us? We're like,
No, just yeah, happy whatever day it is. Hope you guys are having a good start or end to your week whenever you guys are finding this episode. But welcome back to another episode. Lucy,
yes.
how y'all doing?
Well, your girl's been going through it, but she bitched up and she's here, okay?
Yes.
And that's a little preface to my bitch up. Actually, no, that is my bitch up moment because as I mentioned to you, I just haven't been feeling well as far as like I've been having a migraine for the past 2 days. And today I was really tempted to be like, can we record
Let's not
another
do it.
day or skip?
I
Because
was too. I literally
I
was.
was like,
Do you
no,
want to
bitch,
just? No, I'm just kidding.
just log
Bye.
off. Wait,
I
yeah, I was like, oh, it's fine. You can bitch through. I'm like, you just need a nap. And once you wake up, maybe you'll feel a little different. And I did. I took a nap. I felt a little better. I still have like a little bit of a migraine, but she bitched up and she's here. She's ready to give some knowledge or spread some knowledge, some enlightenment.
spread. They're just kidding.
Spread
It's like,
it.
well, thank you for showing up for us, for you, and for all of our listeners, and for me.
Everybody's like, oh man. I'm just kidding.
Right? No, I very much like. I think you and I are like having the same situation, or not same, but different per usual. Because
Mhm.
I'm also just like going through it this week, like I was going through it last week. I'm still in that space, but yeah, we showed up, and I agree. I think that's definitely part of the bitch up moment this week, that we were just like, we did the work and we're here.
I'm like, I did
We're
not
here.
do the research. Okay, sorry, we're back. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
we're back against our own wills. At least against my will. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back, everyone. We're back. All right. So is that our bitch up moment this week, that we showed up to the pod, showed up to live another day?
Okay, guys, we're back. We've been having some technical difficulties. If this is a
Why'd you guys
sign,
let us? Yeah, this is a
yeah.
sign we should not record today, Lucy. This is now our fourth time trying to record this podcast. Yeah, so you guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a good week. Bye.
Yeah, like
We're keeping
sometimes
this
just
one
trust the
short and
signs.
sweet.
I actually
Alrighty.
wanted to jump in because I know we talked about like a small bitch up, but I did have a little bitch up recommendation. So my bitch up recommendation is for you guys to listen to Becky G's new album called Baraja Bendita. So good, literally bop after bop after bop.
Really? I didn't even know she was putting something new out.
Yeah,
Cool.
it just came out this past week. It came out Friday. So
Mhm.
yeah, super good. I already have, I mean, it's hard to have favorites because each of them are really good.
I was about to
But
ask, what's your favorite?
Control is one of my favorites. 5'5", Perreo Triste. El Perreo Triste, girl, you need to put more music out like that. Like, if that would have been, actually, no, this whole album was very much like, damn, my girl is down for love, okay? And I
Oh,
appreciate her being like, yo, like, I know we've been
vulnerable.
through shit. And, this is what we wanted from her. Like, just own up to the fact that you're down for love. And it is what it is. And I appreciate her for that. So, love it. Go listen to it, bitch up,
So,
and listen to Becky G.
so this is why I saw her at Randy's Donuts in the drive-through. That makes sense. She
Maybe.
was promoting. I've been seeing
Oh,
her.
okay.
Like, I've come across some of her content of like her being out and stuff. But I just figured she was just making the rounds because she was in Inglewood and stuff. But now it makes sense because she dropped something.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's really good. Go listen to it.
Yeah, I think I will. Let's see what it's giving.
And also, R.I.P. to Hayden Patton. Like, my heart. I found out at night. Like, I literally found out as soon as it happened, and I was like, I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a joke. This is not real because I had just seen some interviews of her promoting her book and stuff, and so it's really sad that that happened. So R.I.P. to her.
Yeah, our millennial hearts are in mourning for sure. It's just another one of those things where it's like gone too soon, and it's
Mm.
just really unfortunate and tragic. I didn't know. My sister texted me about it, but my phone had died, and so
Of course.
I didn't see it until like I finally got to charge my phone, and then that was the
Mhm.
first thing I saw, and I was like, "What the shit?" Like, I was also like, you're lying, but also like, why would my sister lie about something like this? So I was like, she did. And then I was like, how? And then, but yeah, it
Mhm.
was really sad because I mean, we grew up with her.
Yeah. I just learned that she was the voice of Dot in The Bug's Life. I had no
I
idea that was
know. Same.
her. I was like,
Same.
no, I just watched that movie with Theo the other day. I was like,
Oh, it's such a fun
I
movie.
will never see it the same now.
Yeah.
Damn. I
She
was
was
like,
so
damn,
cute.
she
She
really
had a
was
lot of
our
cool
childhood.
chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up with her. I mean,
I
yeah,
didn't
she's like
realize
my
she was
sister's age.
36. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize she was that young. I was like, I always thought she was, I knew she was like in our age range, but I didn't realize how close she was to our age range.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, RIP to her.
Hope she's in a better place, and I hope she has found peace.
Hmm. Amen.
Um,
Anyways.
yeah. Well, let's see. I don't think I have any recommendations other than like take a nap. Taking naps, like take a nap when you want to, if you feel like it. Like they
Hmm.
really help out. So
They
I've been
do.
taking naps like left and right whenever I can. Don't let
Yeah.
me hit my bed because I will be napping there for a while. I probably won't be there for like an extended period of time, but I'll take a little cat nap here and there.
Yeah.
It's the best.
It's,
It's how I've been
it's
getting by,
yeah, it's really
honestly.
good when you're trying to regulate. Like for whatever reason, at least that's how I function. If I'm sad, take a nap. If I'm tired,
That
obviously
is
take
how
a
you
nap.
function,
If
and
I'm
that
not
is
feeling
so
well,
true.
take a nap. If
Right?
I'm angry, take a nap.
I thought you said if I'm hungry, take a nap.
Well, sometimes too, because I'm like, bitch, you just ate. Go to
Oh my
sleep.
god. Oh my god. Seriously. Nothing there's nothing worse than when you ate and then you're like, I feel like I can go for
I can
something
go for
else.
a little ice cream. I'm like, bitch, take a nap.
A
You're
little sweet
broke.
treat.
You're low on finances. Take a nap.
Yes. You're trying to buy something, take a
Take
nap.
a nap. Think about it. Just sleep on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Yeah, those are our bitch up moments and recommendations. All right. So what are we getting into today?
So for today's topic, actually, Ixchel, you were the one who brought it to our desk.
Lucy's. Yeah.
And it's funny enough because when I was doing my research on this, I realized I had seen some videos of people trying this
The
method, or
animal. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess my algorithm just decided not to stay on that part of TikTok. But basically, we're going to be discussing, I guess, a radical movement on the internet, or a subculture of the internet, and it's
Hmm.
called bimbo stoicism. And it basically combines classical stoicism, where it's basically emotional detachment, with reclaimed hyperfeminine bimbo aesthetics. And I guess from my understanding of what you were explaining it to me is that it's supposed to reject the patriarchal beauty standards
Hmm.
through self-acceptance, I guess animal archetypes, and just
Yeah.
having like an unapologetic attitude basically.
Right. Yeah, and embracing your own features and attractiveness and not leaning into what society deems as
Mhm.
attractive or what the standard is. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, when I was doing my research on this, that this whole idea of bimbo stoicism is traced back to this meme creator named Daria
Hmm.
Filibovic. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Yeah,
And
she's
it
foreign.
was, yeah. And then it was recently popularized by a TikTok creator named Babushka. That's her TikTok name.
Hmm.
And so in the old meme that Daria wrote, I guess she said that bimbo core, and I quote, bimbo core is a kind of stoicism in a woman's self worth within herself, in an image not trained to corporate coldness. It's an external energy that invades everything it interacts with. Bimbo stoicism is based. And I honestly, I think this was like the first time that the word bimbo and stoicism has been put together in a
Yeah.
sentence. Yeah, and then apparently Babushka saw this meme and came up with a similar concept by combining two parts of her identity, a bimbo and a stoic. And then it was in late 2025 is when she started posting more about this, about
Yeah.
like the teachings, the rules, and just basically her
Her
wisdom.
principles. Yeah.
Yeah, which obviously is what took off. I didn't realize it was like that recent. I don't know why I thought it was like it's been out there, but yeah,
It's pretty
it was like a
recent. Yeah.
late 2025 thing.
Yeah. And what I thought was interesting from her, because she said how she created it too as a way to also survive her undiagnosed autism, she said.
Mhm.
which is like I think maybe why we get this dichotomy of like bimbo and stoicism. That like that's kind of also where she kind of drew reference or in like inspiration from. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that she said that also was a way for her to deal with that. And I was like, oh, like look at her inventing ways to cope with life. And
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess it would probably be getting into the idea or just what is a bimbo and what is stoicism.
yeah,
So, as we like to do.
let's break up our words and find
So,
meaning.
what is bimbo? So, according to Merriam-Webster, a bimbo is an attractive but vacuous woman. So, technically, basically, she's
Vacuous.
conventionally attractive. She tends to
Hmm.
be on the hyperfeminine spectrum, but she's dim-witted. And I think
Hmm.
a perfect character, I guess, that you can like associate this to is to like the house bunny, Shelley, the
Yes.
house bunny,
Yeah.
right? Like that is technically like the perfect character stereotype of what a bimbo is, right?
Hmm.
And then the historical context of bimbo traditionally. Funny enough, the term actually originally emerged in the United States around 1919 because it
Hmm.
was supposed to describe a brutish, unintelligent, or a foolish man, of course.
Just like the US to flip it on and make it a way to draw like a derogatory
Yeah,
term
exactly.
towards women.
Yep. And then in the 1950s, 1960s, obviously we see the association of bimbo applied usually to like the on-screen actresses such as Marilyn Monroe, Judy Holliday, because they're the ones that kind of popularized the dumb blonde trope,
Yeah.
which again, it combines sex appeal with like this demeanor of easily being confused or just lacking
Yeah.
intelligence.
It's almost like you're all looks and like no intelligence.
So then obviously this brings us to the early 2000s where I think that's where I obviously associate the label of bimbo more to because I did hear it growing up and it was literally used to demean and dehumanize many of the famous young women during that era such as
Yeah.
like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears. I think
You
Pamela
had
Anderson is
the
probably one
house
of the most
bunnies
prominent.
too. I mean, not the
Mhm.
house bunnies, but like the Playboy
The
bunnies too.
Playboy
Like they were
bunnies.
also like they were often referred to as bimbos as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really just a way for media to legitimize their mistreatment and for them to get away with it, right? Because by
Right.
dehumanizing these girls and just reducing them to their bodies and sexualization, it was easy for everybody to be like kind of just jump on that hate train and be like, yeah, like they're so dumb because
I
obviously you
think it
had
also
women who were also playing into like the patriarchal aspect of like beauty
ideas.
standards and what a
Yeah.
woman, yeah, exactly. So it was really easy to dehumanize using that label.
Which I find very interesting because I feel like these women were, like you said, leaning into like the standards and like the sexualization of women.
Hmm.
They're kind of playing into it, right? And obviously that afforded them certain access, certain celebrities, certain notoriety, if you will. And it's almost like society was trying to punish them for having that. Like, it's just like they're playing into it because this
Hmm.
is what society says that a woman should look like and what womanhood, like, but then it's a specific version of womanhood, one that is kind of the antithesis of like being like, what is it, like being a wife and being like, what is it, like virtuous or
Well,
being
even
like
I wouldn't. Well, yeah,
virginal even or
no, I
something,
see what you're saying. Yeah, because a lot
yeah.
of these women were like single and ready to mingle and really out there living their lives, which
Yeah, they
I
were
guess,
in public
yeah.
spaces. Whereas,
Hmm.
like, bitch, you're supposed to be in the home. But there's like, no, they were in public spaces. They were like being celebrities, and
Hmm.
they were accessing these spaces and were obviously also monetizing off of it. It's like we talked
Yeah,
about it previously. Like, so, like, in a way, it's like people were trying to, punish
humble
them for
them.
having, yeah. Which, again,
Hmm.
like, the only reason why they got so popular is because there was a market for it.
Hmm.
People were buying into it.
Yeah.
Who was the one that, yeah, anyway. But yeah, very interesting how like they ended up using that as a way to be derogatory towards women, and like you said, in a way also sort of justify the mistreatment or just the way they were even like sexualized or hypersexualized. And even like I think that, would you say that someone that's a bimbo can be synonymous with being like slutty or like that kind of vibe, or is it just more along the lines of it's just the aesthetic of like you look hyper feminine, you're very into like glamorous and like looking good and and
Well,
stuff
I
like
do
that.
think there was the aspect of equating bimbo-ness to sluttiness because of the, I think the beauty standard, right? Because even then,
Yeah, and the
like,
sexual undertones that
yeah, the
was,
sexual undertones, because like we have Marilyn
yeah.
Monroe, who was a curvaceous woman. She was, you know, the beauty standard of that era, right? Blonde, blue-eyed. But even obviously the body aspect, because at the end of the day, bimboism is also kind of just, again, dehumanizing people and just bringing it down to looks and
Mhm.
body and the
The
sexuality of,
aesthetic, yeah.
yeah, the aesthetic. So I think even just the, when I think bimbo, sadly, like I think someone who has like curvaceous big boobs, very glamorous as far as like a
Mhm.
lot of makeup. I do think bleach blonde hair, bleach and tone, dare I say. And yeah, I do think like a very like, not maybe they do play into the sluttiness, because obviously you have someone like Paris Hilton who doesn't really fall into that like physical aesthetic as far as like the big boobs, but she still fell prey to like the spray tan, the bleach blonde hair, right? Blue eyes. She wore blue contacts, I think, at some point. And yeah, and just the vacant brain and we know that that's a character that she's played, because she's come out to say like,
Even the way
yeah,
her
it's,
voice,
yeah,
yeah.
the switch of her tone, yes, exactly, like there is a caricature for a bimbo, right? And we
Yeah.
all have an idea of what that looks like. So I think now, so maybe you could say that after Paris Hilton, it did to
Mhm.
evolved to include various body types, but I think it was more so down to personality by then, by the way that they were acting, the way that they spoke, where it was just
Mhm.
like, yeah, there's like nothing up there versus what they looked like, right? I think
Yeah.
what like 90s could easily be like Pamela Anderson, big boobs, Paris Hilton, 2000s, not body, same body, but same idea where it's like soft feminine voice, like ha, you know. So
Yeah.
there is some evolution as far as what a bimbo is throughout the eras.
Right.
But then I guess the question, well, I guess speaking of evolution, now it comes down to like, how has modern
The tr
times, us in the 2020s, how has that label been reclaimed, right? Because obviously we have
yeah.
creators like Babushka, and I would say a lot of the Gen Z creators that have taken on this movement. And
Mhm.
it seems that they flipped it on like a positive,
Yeah.
or flipped
They're
it to have like a positive, inclusive identity, right? Because like I said,
right.
we have this certain idea of what a bimbo looks like, but now when you have all of these creators saying I'm a bimbo, it's
Yeah.
like they are consciously choosing the aesthetic, which again takes, and I guess in their way it's taking power back, because it's not something
Mhm.
that is getting assigned to you anymore, right? It's
Right. You're
where
claiming
before,
it.
yeah,
You're
you're claiming it
yeah.
as your own, and you're not doing it to satisfy the male gaze. It's, you're doing it because it's something that, you know, you like,
You
per se.
like, yeah, you
Yeah,
like the aesthetic, or because it's cute or it's fun
yeah.
to perform that, right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
think you're right. I think there's definitely been a reclaiming of the term, especially with a lot of like younger or like influencers of our time, right? And
Mhm.
I think you're right. It's a way of just, taking charge of, it's a way to empower themselves by using a term that used to be derogatory, but them still leaning into the performance and the aesthetics of it, right? but
Mhm.
they're but in doing so, I think what's interesting of some of these movements is that they're challenging the notion that there's nothing there, right? Like that it's all aesthetics, that there's, like you said, there's no substance, there's no depthness.
Mhm.
Someone like Babushka, where she's kind of, pushing the limits of what it means to what attractiveness is, or you sort of taking back the power to assert your own attractiveness or your own self-worth or whatever. I've seen also another influencer or like content creator that I like to follow. Her name is like Nikita something, and she is like all about like bimbo university. And
Mhm.
so she also follows the aesthetics of bimbo in the sense of like the cutesy and the like the voice and and the colorful and whatever. But like her content is very much centered around talking about what's going on in the political world and putting it in terms that like your regular Joe is going to be able to sort of like digest and be like
Understand. Mhm.
understand. Yeah. And she contextualizes a lot of what's going on right now politically, and how it's like it's not it's not what is it, like it's not new, it's happened before, and this is how like these things are at play again. And she's very educational in the way that she does it, and she does it in such a playful and fun way that you
Mhm.
don't even feel like, oh, this is like she's teaching me
Like
something, you
Doom.
know. So it's really, yeah, so it's really fun to engage with that kind of content. And again, and she's leaning into the performance and the like these like the bimbo aesthetics of it all to make it
Mhm.
more palatable, and even for people to be more like receptive to it, if you
Yeah.
will.
I would also like to add as far as like personality, because I do think that bimbo core had also a certain stereotype as far as like how they were personality wise. And obviously we saw a lot of these people play into it as far as like Paris Hilton, but I think there is this idea that not only are like people who are considered bimbos like unintelligent, but they're also like kind of mean girl vibes, you know what I mean? Like they,
Mhm,
and so I think nowadays too, as far as like the videos of people who actively choose to participate in bimbo core, like
mhm.
they're very nice, or at least they come off very nice. It seems that a lot of them are pro LGBTQ plus,
Yeah,
pro
yeah.
choice, anti-racist, and they're supportive of sex workers, because
Mhm,
obviously there is this, not in like something being, well, I do think actually a lot of people equate bimbo to sex workers because of the I guess the physical comparisons, but other than that, they're pretty pro sex workers, or right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that's another way of also something that
they're inclusive.
patriarchy,
Yeah,
yeah, is technically is always trying to deem as a negative thing. They're taking everything that patriarchy deems negative or tries to weaponize against women as a positive and kind of invert it, right?
exactly. Yeah, and we love subverting patriarchy, so we welcome this. Or that's actually what caught my attention to it when I
Mhm.
first saw it, and then that's why I kind of floated it around Lucio, like, hey, have you seen this? Is this would kind of be a fun topic to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad you brought up the whole idea of this content creator, Nikita, that uses the bimbo core, but obviously she's a very intelligent person. And it
Mhm.
kind of brings into conversation again, like the beauty versus brains binary, because obviously in the 2000s, we grew up with this idea that you couldn't be both physically attractive and a highly intelligent person, right? That's
Shout
why
out to
we have
Legally Blonde.
exactly. That's why we have movies like Legally Blonde, What I Like About You, House Bunny, even
Yeah,
Princess
it was awesome.
Diaries, where
Yeah.
you have all of these movies kind of depict a girl being transformed, right? Most of these are usually, I think, Legally Blonde and House Bunny are the invert of it, but most of the time you have like a brunette, smart girl being
Yeah.
transformed into the pretty girl, even though she's always pretty. But like
Mhm.
Legally Blonde and House Bunny kind of invert that, where you take a bimbo and
Yeah.
invert it and make her a smart girl. But at the end of the day, they were always smart people. And
Yeah.
obviously, Legally Blonde would argue that Elle didn't have to strip away her like rhinestones or pink aesthetic to have a genius legal mind or a brilliant legal mind,
Mhm.
per se. Like she could do both.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Agreed.
I think also, as far as I was seeing, this bimbo stoicism also kind of rejects the girl boss culture, but not in the sense of that there's anything like wrong with it, but it does
Mhm.
reject the traditional corporate structures where women have to work twice as hard to prove
Yes.
that they're just as good as the men in the same field, right? So like modern bimboism basically they choose to like opt out of that because to them it's not
Mhm.
productive and it's
Yeah.
not favorable in the sense of like self-care, and they prefer to like focus on like community and again just being mindful of things, but also
Mhm.
like not falling into the rhetoric of like there's a certain way that you need to dress to be taken seriously, again very Legally
Yes.
Blonde.
Mhm.
So yeah, it kind of plays around with that whole rhetoric where it's like it's not putting down women who are in corporate, but more so like wanting to empower them, like, hey, you don't need to do all that, like
Yeah.
you know you're worth
Know
twice
your
as much.
self-worth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, you don't need to basically dive into all that toxicity just to prove a point.
Exactly. No,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree because I mean, even in like traditional ideas of feminism, where it's like we're looking for equality with men or whatever, but we're looking for it existing within the patriarchy, right? Or
Hmm.
within the systems that are at play. So like for a lot of I think for a long time people thought like, oh, we just have to, you know, wear blazers and like tone down our femininity to be taken seriously and to be just like take on more masculine
Tighter
roles
bodies.
to gain respect from our peers, especially if they were male peers and stuff.
Hmm.
And this again sort of like argues against that or tries to encourage that you actually do the opposite and lean into your femininity, but in a way
Yeah.
that's empowering, not in a way that is shameful, because it isn't, right? And the only reason it's been deemed shameful is because again society was weaponizing it against women.
Yeah. So they basically like weaponize glitz because again, they're like
Yes.
upping the pink aesthetic, they're upping the heavy makeup, they're upping the glamour. Again, very leaning into like the hyper feminine
Mhm.
spectrum of things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like you said, I do think that Legally Blonde is probably like the best movie to use this as like a reference because we do
Yeah.
see that whole idea of, you know, a hyper feminine woman versus someone who is trying to fit within the patriarchy beauty standards of like not doing too much, not wearing a lot of
Being
makeup,
demure.
yeah, being demure, being intelligent versus bimbo-y and like, you know, aesthetic. Where what's her name? Is the oh my god, what is
Vivian.
Vivian? Yes. So you see that through her, and I guess that's the best way to kind of compare that. And then at the
Yeah.
end, and it's like, and that's the literally the beauty versus brain dichotomy there, or at least the perfect example, because even I guess the whole issue that they have is obviously over a man, unfortunately. But it's also it's like there's such opposites where I think at the end of the movie they realize like, hey,
We're just girls.
we're just
We're just
girls.
girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're both brilliant
Which is
women.
beautiful. Yeah, and there's space for us all here.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think because the movie was set in law school and in the legal space and in general, women or like historically the legal field was predominantly male. I mean, like took forever to let women into law school in the first place. So even like law school has always been very much like very rigid and very
Mhm.
like kind of like dare I say masculine, if you will. So a lot of
Yes.
people do feel like they need to be a certain way and maybe not be as feminine or whatever to sort of thrive in those spaces, and that really challenged that. And like you said, it kind of offered an opportunity where it's like you don't need to do all that and still thrive in those kinds of environments. And it is always better to just be yourself
Yeah.
and thrive in that, right? And in her doing so, it kind of also disarm, I feel like for Vivian, like obviously she had seen Elle as a threat because of their love interest, but also they were in the same class, so they were competing for like highest grade and all that stuff. And so I think it was disarming for her to see her like, oh, we're just girls, right? Like you're not a threat to me just because you're like you can be smart and pretty too. Again, there's space here for all of us, and also it's not that serious if it's just about a boy.
But it also,
Yeah.
I think in a way, it also made Vivian realize that, like you said, like aside from both being in the legal field and having to compete for space there, I think it also maybe opened Vivian's eyes as far as what she wanted, which we see clearly when she dumps Warner. It's like, I
Warner.
don't
Yeah.
actually want you. And I think kind of diving more into her friendship with Elle and like her female friendships, and
Hmm.
also maybe opening some form of desire of what she wants not only for herself, yeah, for herself. That's what I wanted to say. Like trying to explore more of that and not, again, caring so much what other people think, what her parents want for her, what society wants for her, but like, what do I want for myself? And her dumping Warner was like the first step into that
Her
world.
reclaiming
Yeah.
her own, yeah, her
Yeah.
own freedom to choose for herself.
Yeah. Well, I guess now we can kind of, because we talked so much about what bimboism is and bimbo core, right? So I think now we kind of have to bring in the stoicism part of it. So I looked up what stoicism meant, and
Yeah.
according to Merriam-Webster, it's the indifference to pleasure or pain,
Hmm.
especially acceptance of misfortune without complaint or a discernible emotion. However, further research shows that
Yeah.
Stoicism is an ancient Greco Roman philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium around 300 BCE. This classic type of stoicism roots worth in virtue and moral character. So it basically teaches that virtue is the ultimate good, right? That
Mhm.
logic should master destructive emotions, and
Mhm.
peace comes from focusing only on what you cannot control. And so I guess this brings in the whole conversation about stoicism as far as ancient versus modern, right? Because
Yeah.
they're kind of different, because obviously in ancient times stoicism was, again, a way of, basically they believe that life encompassed like logic, physics, and ethics. And
Mhm.
so it also included a theological view
Right.
of the universe, and they basically believe that the universe was like a rational living organism, and it was directed by a divine providence, which they
Mhm.
called logos, or God, really. But
Yeah.
I was funny because the more I was reading into this, I was like, oh, I learned this in college. I was like, I
Yeah.
remember this now. But basically, they like to compare their philosophy to in Orchard, where
Mhm.
logic is the protective wall. So basically, it teaches us how to judge impressions, so what our senses tell us, and
Mhm.
it's so that we judge them before we let them impact our minds, and
Right.
therefore it like keeps our mind safe from like any falsehoods or having to
Yeah.
think these negative thoughts, right? And
Yeah,
then
or
we
to
have,
give in to them, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then we have the physics, where in the orchard, physics is the fertile soil and the trees. So this includes the theology portion and the metaphysics. So they believed, again, that the universe was like a single rational physical organism, and
Mhm.
it was literal matter. So it was animated by God, basically. And then we have the ethics, where that's the fruit of the the orchard. Wow, I'm having, my mind's like going really fast, and I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
ah,
like, she's short circuit,
like
and
slow
she's like
down.
2 seconds away from
I'm
short
like, I'm
circuiting,
like,
you
sorry,
guys.
I'm tapping into my college brain, and it's been a while.
Yeah.
But also, aside from ethics, there was this thing called providence, which is pronoia. And so
Mhm.
basically, everything they providence is basically believing that everything that happened was predetermined, and
Yeah.
it's perfectly woven for the good of the whole, right? So
Right.
in their minds, when an ancient stoic suffered, they basically took comfort in the idea that their
It
suffering
was
was for a
for a
necessary
reason. It was a
good. Yeah,
necessary
yeah,
evil, if you will.
yeah,
And it was
exactly.
inevitable too. So it's kind of just like,
Mhm.
why am I gonna, oh, woe is me? Why is this
Exactly.
happening to me? When
They're
it's
like,
just
oh my
like, it's
god.
just, it's part of it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
focus on things that I can't control type of thing.
Mhm.
So I feel like it was a way for them to cope with life and the
Yeah,
harshness
it
of
was
their
a
lives at
coping
that time.
mechanism, yes.
Yeah.
It was a coping mechanism with bad luck, basically, like,
Yeah.
having this bad luck because everything happens for a reason, and it's meant to be, and it's, again, it's part of a greater good. But in their minds, or at least philosophically, you couldn't have ethics without the other two. So you couldn't have it
Right.
without physics, and you couldn't have it
They had to
without,
be in balance with each other.
yeah, exactly. Versus modern traditional stoicism, basically modern stoicism strips away the ancient physics and theology portion, and it's
Yeah.
more secularized, where it's more for like personal ethics and
Yeah.
emotional regulation.
Hmm.
So again, you're getting rid of the wall and the soil, and you're focusing more on the fruits. So you no longer believe that the cosmos are like this breathing conscious organism,
Hmm.
because it makes it easier for people who are like atheists or Christians and Buddhists to kind of
Right.
believe in this as well.
Yeah,
Um,
because I feel like Buddhism is a lot similar to that
mhm,
in some in the ways in which they try to sort of not give in to like um regular emotions or like wanting certain things and things like that, and just sort of stripping themselves away from those things.
exactly. Yeah. And so basically the difference, I guess, between modern stoicism, I was going to say modern atheism, modern stoicism, is that
That's
they
for another
don't,
episode.
yeah,
Just
it basically their idea of like bad luck, it's just because I can't control it, versus like it's meant to be. So it shifts from being a spiritual alignment to just having a sense of like
acceptance.
sanity. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
practical sanity, basically.
Yeah.
But obviously here in this instance, you go from like a profound spiritual philosophy to what some purists would say like a superficial life hack, because in ancient stoicism, they're basically just asking you to change your relationship with the universe, versus modern stoicism is more so asking you to change your reaction to a bad email.
Whatever's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit, I can't control this. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's meant to, I got this
It's
shitty
like
email because God wanted me to get the shitty email, versus like, it's just a shitty email. Oh,
it's a
well.
shitty email from a shitty person. No, I'm just
Person.
kidding.
Yeah.
It's like I can't focus on what they're doing over there, but I can focus on what I'm doing over
Yeah,
here.
exactly. But
And
aside from that difference, though, I think we can agree that at their core, they both believe the same thing, as far as that external events cannot harm you, only your reaction to those events can. So
yeah,
again, our suffering does not come from reality, but more so from the
our
story about,
reactions.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I guess they both also measure human life by development of character. So both frameworks measure a successful human life by utilizing the four moral compass points, which is wisdom, which is knowing
Mhm.
what is good, what is bad, and what is different;
Right.
courage, facing fear, standing up for principles, and enduring hardship;
Mhm.
justice, treating others with fairness, kindness, and public duty; and then temperance, which is practicing self control, moderation, and
In
discipline
all
over
things.
impulses.
Yeah.
What something I did find, obviously, when we're tying it to bimbo stoicism and we're asking, like, oh, where does bimbo stoicism come in place? So both of these philosophies, ancient and
Mhm.
modern, treat physical looks the same, that your appearance is a preferred indifferent, and it has like no bearing on your value as a human being or your inner
Right.
peace. And I believe this is what we were discussing on the side, where Marcus Aurelius comes in, because
Mhm.
he wrote extensively about the foolishness of seeking compliments, basically. Um,
Yeah.
and I quote, he said that a beautiful object like an emerald or a flower is beautiful on its own merits. It doesn't become better just because a human praises it. And this is kind of what modern stoicism applies to, what I guess our digital age, right? Because I guess the idea is that if you take a picture and you upload it onto the internet, you getting a lot of likes or it being like ignored by the algorithm does
It
not
doesn't make
change you as a
you.
person or who
Yeah.
you are internally. But
Right.
your beauty is found more so in the choices and the actions that you make in
And
life,
who
not
you are, really.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not what you look like and
Yeah.
who is liking your stuff or not.
Yeah, so this is basically what bimbo stoicism takes. Like, it takes
Yeah.
this philosophical idea of this preferred indifferent and it weaponizes it, because I guess in ancient stoicism you are allowed to enjoy wealth,
Mhm.
status, and good looks, but all of those things are considered preferred indifference. As
Mhm.
long as you're not attached to any of them
Yeah.
and it doesn't corrupt you, then you're good. So, from
Right.
my understanding, is that basically bimbo stoicism kind of applied that to the hyperfeminine style,
Mhm.
and it made it so that you're making this choice to apply bimbo core or glamour, or again this hyper feminine aesthetic to yourself, but you're not attached to it. So if I were to wear, like, I don't know, 6-inch heels, a lot of makeup,
Mhm.
and if I were to wear like a mini skirt, and it's
Mhm.
out of my preference, not necessarily to like gain attention,
Mhm.
if society were to call me like stupid, or if my makeup gets ruined for whatever reason, it's I have like no feelings towards that. Like, my inner peace is still intact
Yeah.
and I remain indifferent despite all of those things, right? So I think that's what bimbo stoicism is trying to do. It's like, I can take all of these things, I'm inverting this negative stereotype and
Mhm.
applying it to myself by choice.
Mhm.
But no matter what society thinks about me or like the external factors that may affect me, it's not going to change my mood from, like, I will still be happy and indifferent to anything. Like, I'll
Right.
basically be unapologetic about
Yeah,
everything, right?
exactly. Yeah, being unapologetic of being yourself and presenting in whatever way you want to. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Like, I can think a lot of where if I'm ever wearing something that I might have like years ago thought maybe is a little bit too revealing, or me thinking like, oh my God, someone's going to say this or someone's going to have this perception. Nowadays, it's kind of like, if I like what I'm wearing and I feel cute in it, I'm gonna wear it. And if
Mhm.
someone has something to say, or if someone says a comment about it and they're trying to either make me feel bad for being too revealing, or trying to shame me for being too revealing, I don't care. Like, like it's an indifference to it, because again, like, I'm wearing it because I want to wear it, not because I'm looking to see what reaction I'm gonna get from you, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And really and it doesn't necessarily have to be like bimbo stoicism, because I do think that bimbo
Mhm.
core is a very specific thing. But really, like
Yes.
Shelly said, this could be applied to anything that you're doing. And you don't necessarily need to associate yourself to bimbo stoicism to
Hmm.
have stoicism, right? You can apply it to anything. Versus,
Right.
whereas it's whatever aesthetic you want to wear, whatever outfits you want to wear, whatever clothes you want to wear, as long as you feel good in them, that's fine. But also, it won't, like, you not wearing them or wearing them won't make you, right?
You,
Yeah.
exactly. You
It
make
doesn't
the clothes, not
Yeah,
the
you make
clothes
the
make
clothes.
you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Or
You know.
you make whatever it is that you're doing. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't determine who you are as a person. Like, your car,
Right.
your money, your finances, like, none of that makes
Es-
you.
Especially if you're not, like, again, if you're not out here abusing your shit and doing it to, like, inflict any kind of, like,
Mhm.
hurt, or like fucking other people's shit up, because
Yeah.
at that point, then it is like, okay, what the hell are you doing? But you know but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely did see it as, like, what I thought it was cool about it when it first came across my desk was just this idea of, like, women removing their, like, emotional attachment to, like, societal standards of, and moving more towards self-acceptance, and whether it's like beauty standards, because that's a lot of this content that she puts out, right? Of,
Mhm.
like, facial features, and being skinny or not skinny, or like having, like, looking a certain way, or what society is deeming as beautiful, and
Mhm.
you removing the attachment from that, and also seeing, like, okay, like, my looks are me, they make me me, and, like, having that self-acceptance and really leaning into it. And by doing that, you yourself are asserting your own attractiveness, because
Mhm.
it's more or less premised on feeling strong and confident in yourself, and ultimately, like, again, not succumbing to the pressures of, especially when we live in a society where there seems to be this race for who's the hottest person, or at least in celebrity world, and all of this is being accomplished through plastic surgery and other methods. You're dealing with all the pressures, but it's just, now you feel like, oh my god, I need to do this, or I need to do that. But it's just like, no, like, just be yourself and be the best version of yourself, whatever you want that to look like, and, like, that should be enough, and you should be content with that. um but yeah, I like that it sort of, like, subverts the ideas of, like, succumbing to, like, traditional beauty standards. And we've talked a lot about how we live in a society that's constantly pushing this idea of what it is to look like a woman, to be a woman, what womanhood should look like, especially when it comes to beauty standards, and how there's, like,
Mhm.
a whole industry that's built off of women's insecurity. So I like that this sort of tries to offer women a way to sort of reclaim their power in that space, and yeah, and feel better about themselves.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I think you mentioned looks maxing, and I
Yes.
have seen that trend going on around the internet.
Hmm.
I honestly didn't really get what was happening until I think I got the gist of it,
Yeah.
but I kept seeing this one TikToker who would basically rate people based on their facial balance.
Oh,
And
uh-huh.
he would tell them like why he's like, oh, they're 5.5 because there's like no balance, blah blah blah, like this is blah blah blah.
It's not
And I think,
symmetrical or
yeah,
whatever.
and I think he ended up getting like a nose job to, because people were like, oh, you're
To
one to
look smacks
talk,
himself.
you're
Yeah.
out here rating people, but you also don't fit like your criteria. So I think he ended
Hmm.
up getting a nose job to balance his face. But apparently, people, I don't know if people are shitting on him because they're like, oh, you got a nose job, dumbass. Like, or if it's genuinely bad. Like, I don't think his nose
Oh,
bad, but I will say, like, compared before to after, I think that's where people are coming. They're like, you looked good before you got your
before.
nose job.
And now that you
Now
have,
there's no, like,
you
not,
there's
you
no
look good,
uniqueness.
there's no
Yeah.
uniqueness. Yeah.
It's you lost, like, what made you you, or what made you unique, right? Like,
Yeah.
now you look like, what is it called, Instagram face or social media face or something like that, and
Oh,
it's really,
iPhone face.
or
Is it
iPhone
iPhone
face.
face?
and
I think that's what it's called.
and
Yeah.
that's really just talking about how these beauty standards have been pushed so far that everyone's out here trying to look the same,
Hmm.
and we're losing a lot of, like, unique features, and people are trying to push this, like, conventional idea of beauty, and
Hmm.
they're trying to lean into those looks, but then we're missing a lot of what, like, I don't
Well, yeah,
want to
you
say
have this complaint.
unconventional beauty looks like, but I feel like
Yeah,
beauty shouldn't be conventional in the first place because beauty is like so
in the eye of the
subjective.
beholder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the eye and the beholder, so it's kind of like what is really. And talking about looks maxing, one of the things that Babushka sort of pushes forth is this idea of bimbo maxing. And it's in sort of like you can look at it as an alternative to looks maxing because at its
Mhm.
core, you're not necessarily looking at how to improve your face, right? Because you're looking at more or less how to embrace your features and what you have and sort of like again, gain that confidence and stuff so that when you are presenting in the world, you're not like, oh my God, I'm so ugly. No one's going to talk to me. You feel empowered and you feel more comfortable talking and engaging with people and really like showing them who you are and all your charisma and everything. And that's the way you forge relationships or just like meet people and like get along with people or whatever. But she's
Yeah.
also basing it off of like vibes, right? So bimbo maxine is mostly based on vibes. And those are like the vibes that like you ascribe to yourself or that you present in, and it's sort of leaning into again like being like the vitality of being like a woman and the hyper feminine of it all, and also just like being playful and alive and what is the other thing that she says, and like even being like sensual in your own right because you're sort of like
Mhm.
vibe maxing if you will, and
Yeah.
that in itself makes you attractive, right? So I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I think going off of that, I believe she brings in the whole spiritual animal framework, right? And
Yeah.
I was looking a little bit more into this. So apparently in ancient stoicism, they have like their own symbolic archetype of
Mhm.
what it is to be a stoic. And their
Yeah.
archetype was this immovable cliff that was like weathering a storm. And
Mhm.
again, it's just a metaphor really, and it's supposed to be how like rather than escaping from the storm or like trying to control the weather, you anchor yourself in your
Mhm.
own agency, and then you let whatever noise is around just kind of dissipate, right?
Mhm.
And I believe bimbo stoicism swaps that for the twin animal taxonomy. So
Mhm.
basically, like you said, it's very similar to where you kind of a vibe maxing per se, but this is basically just a framework that neutralizes your physical insecurities, right? So it
Yeah.
makes you look at your traits, or it makes you, yeah, makes you associate your traits to an animal, because
Mhm.
it equates the idea of like whatever insecurity you have or whatever insecurity you have about a trait, and it makes you be like, well, this animal, I
It's
look
part of
like this
nature.
animal, and this
Yeah.
animal is part of nature, and nature is flawless, therefore I'm flawless, because
Yeah.
you're
Or
basically
you're
accepting your
beautiful.
physical vessel, right? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a masterpiece because you're part of nature also. So if this
Yeah.
animal is flawless and nature's flawless, I'm flawless because I'm also part of this organism.
Yeah, and you relate to it too. And then whatever then there's also like the concept of like what these animals represent or certain vibes that they represent,
Yeah.
and how you could also like lean into that too.
Yeah. So I think, for example, if you have like large teeth, or you just have what you some maybe would say like a chaotic energy, you could be like, well, I'm like a little ferret, you know. Ferrets have very chaotic energy, and that's just what I'm exuding. Or
I'm a pigeon. I'm just kidding.
I'm an annoying bitch. Just kidding. I just I'm always around. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but it's supposed to be a little confidence boost for you,
Exactly. I think
right?
you nailed it where it's like it is like a way for you to embrace your looks rather than to be insecure about it or want to change them. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that spoke to me too when I came across her content was she was going through like this nose one, right? And she was talking about how like I think she said like, "Oh, like don't get a nose job. Your nose is represented." And we've talked about this before, right? It's representative like your line of ancestry because
Mhm.
like nose shape is based off of like whatever, and it just went into this whole thing, and it was also just talking about aesthetically why would you want to have your nose look like everybody else, and then some of the other stuff that she said reminded me a lot about what our conversations have been like when I've previously had been like I want to get a nose job, and then you're like a lot of your arguments of just like why would you do that, like you're probably gonna fuck your shit off, like your nose is specific to you and your features and stuff like that, and then you're just gonna get like a generic nose like that just
Well,
doesn't
yeah.
always
And
land.
we've talked about it too. It's like if you get a nose job, you better be ready to do the rest of your face, because your nose
Exactly.
is
And
supposed to fit your features. So you can't just get a nose
exactly.
job, because now you have to do your lips, you have to do your eyes to balance your face, right?
Exactly. And it's the
Yeah.
balancing, right? It's a
Mhm.
whole balancing act. And I was just like, look, the way my finances are set up, no, I do not have. I cannot shave my chin. No, just
Yeah.
kidding. I cannot get my eyelids done.
You're like, I can't get my eyes lifted. No.
Yeah.
And this is why she does bring up the animals and nature, because they
Mhm.
simply just exist, right? They were created purposely with their
Mhm.
features, and that's what sets them apart in nature. And their
And
features
they're all so
sometimes are something
beautiful.
that they use to survive nature, right?
Yeah.
And so when you apply it to a human, it's more so you think like you see your physical genetics through the animal lens, where like your exact features, like we said, become a part of your natural design. It's what you were born with. It
Mhm.
was you were born with it for a purpose, and it's unique to you. And if animals can't change their shit, why would you want to change your shit? Cuz
Yeah.
you know,
Because
yeah.
it's like it's just like be proud of who you are and like carry your like and be proud to carry like your feminine background with dignity,
Yeah.
whatever that is, right? Whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's vibes or just like your own like mental state and like the way you present.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I like about that she talks about was the intention to subvert patriarchy. So very much leans on a return to like matriarchal ideals and matriarchal icons, if you will. Like she goes
Mhm.
through a lot of deities and across like different cultures. Like she talks a lot about like, Athena, but then she also talks about Kali and other like Hindu and other cultural like female goddesses that have been powerful and stuff, and really draws from like their power, their uniqueness,
Yeah.
and again trying to like relate them to you and to use that as another source of empowerment, especially when it comes to your femininity and then also like your spirituality too.
Yeah, I think another one was like Aphrodite, as far as like the whole like
Yes.
bimbo portion of it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like the aesthetic of I think Aphrodite is more so the aesthetic portion of it, where
Hmm.
the femininity, and then I think I remember Athena was more so like the, and again it's
Wisdom.
the wisdom, it's again the beauty and
The
brains
brains. Yeah.
portion. It's like you
They're
can
their
be both.
archetypes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like the whole idea that, again, you Athena, just because Athena was the goddess of wisdom doesn't necessarily mean that she wasn't a beautiful person, right? Or
Exactly.
a beautiful goddess, or considered to be a beautiful goddess. I think that kind of lands me on, because I've been thinking about it since you brought it up, and I won't lie, I did have a little bit of a problem understanding it, just
Mhm.
because I did think that it was a little contradictive, as far
Mhm.
as like, because I get like why people would be attracted to this movement. I do,
Right.
but I do think there was at some point like a philosophical contradiction, because,
Mhm.
and this is more again, I think it was when going back into like the classical and modern stoicism, and what they teach us is to be indifferent to like external things, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
especially the physical appearance. I understand where bimbo stoicism is trying to invert that, and it's kind of like a loophole in a sense,
Mhm.
but where it kind of contradicts itself, it's like the idea that you're spending hours and money on like this type of aesthetic, wouldn't it technically be anti-stoic, right? Because you're,
Yeah.
in a way, you're still tethering your mind to your appearance, to
Yeah.
your aging process, right? And to like the way that you physically present yourself. So when
Right.
you should be indifferent. So really it's like, I guess in my mind, being a stoic, and as far as like physicality goes, it's like you wouldn't matter what you wear. So like
Right. Yeah.
that's why I'm like, it's kind of a
And
double-edged
I
sword, because it's
and I
supposed to help, but at the same time you're like financially, I guess it could also kind of promote like classism, because it's like not everybody can afford to keep up this aesthetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely have seen the criticisms from it. And like, I think with everything else, you pick up what you want and what makes
Mhm.
sense to you or whatever. I don't think she necessarily, or at least from the content I've seen, I don't think she's necessarily pushing for you to live a certain aesthetic in the sense of buying something to look a certain way, because it's more of like embracing what you do have and what you are.
Mhm.
And I think that's why like bimbo stoicism is so like when I first thought about it, like that's such a juxtaposition because it's like bimbo, you're leaning into the aesthetic of it all, and a lot of people that lean into that aesthetic, to your point, there's a whole industry that's based off of pink things, pink clothes,
Mhm.
girly stuff, like your room and everything and all that comes with that, right? And then to your point, stoicism, you're really like you're supposed to be rejecting all of that. Yeah, but I don't think she necessarily purports to like live off of material things. I think it's all more spiritual and the way you're seeing yourself. But I have seen some of those criticisms, and it does make sense because at the end of the day, I feel like when you look at stoicism and the ancient philosophy and the ancient ideology and whatever, it definitely isn't the same as what it's being purported now in modern society because we're not
Yeah.
living the same way, right? And I see it more of like it's just another way that people are using to cope with life and
Yeah,
feel
that's where
better about
the
it.
I think that's maybe where the
It's
concern
like,
comes from, because it's not
yeah.
necessarily that she's purporting that. It's more so people will take it and run with it, but sometimes they go to like an extreme where it's like, oh, I'm gonna have this whole like aesthetic shift, but I have to buy all these things to present
Yeah.
that way. But
And
then also
that's
with like the whole animal thing, like that's also a double-edged sword because
mhm.
I've seen I think the initial thing where I saw it's like, oh, are you a bunny, are you a deer, or are you this? I think that was like the cute portion of this, where the bimbo stoicism is more so like it could be any animal, like all animals are beautiful. It doesn't necessarily have to be like an aesthetically cute animal. Where I
Right.
can see people being like, oh, you think I look like this, and taking it like, because our minds are so ingrained in what
Yeah, what
the beauty
society
standard is.
perceives and what,
And the whole
yeah.
point of this is to kind of break that down. But at the end of the day, it's like it is going to take time. So I could
Yeah.
see someone getting offended with like, you look like a lemur, like not that I think those are ugly animals. I think they're cute,
Yeah.
but it's like maybe somebody doesn't think they're cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
But I think it's to your point, it's because they're not detaching the beauty
yeah,
standards behind that yet, and it is definitely easier said than done, right? Because one of the issues, or one of the things that at first I was kind of like, oh, this is interesting, because while I do see the value and like I appreciate the reclaiming of hyperfemininity and all that stuff. We've talked about previously the issues with this whole dichotomy of masculinity and
yeah,
femininity. And
that too, yeah,
at best what I appreciate about this is that it opens a dialogue for, again, a wider sense or a more wider spectrum of what it means to be feminine, that it's not just restrictive to what we have historically been told that it is to be feminine, to be soft, to be this, to be small, to be what demure, whatever, that it could be more than that. It could be a lot more feral. It could be a lot more wild
yeah.
and stuff. So
And that's
I
where the
that's
animal totems come in play, because it's like
exactly.
nature
Yeah.
is feral, it is wild, and it comes in
Hmm.
so many shapes and sizes.
And
So
it can't be tamed.
yeah, I can't be tamed. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is intriguing. But yeah, just like anything else, right? We would be amiss to not interrogate it and look at it from that type of lens of seeing like, okay, how, as fun and cute as all this sounds, like, is it problematic to you,
Yeah.
right? Like, or and again, and we'd be doing a disservice to ourselves to just go into this and following it blindly. Like,
Mhm.
like I said earlier, you kind of take what you like from it if you want to, even. But I just thought it was very interesting the way this was being presented, and because it was like bimbo and stoicism. And yeah, when I read stoicism, it took me right back to college too, and being like, wait, how does this work again? What are you saying exactly?
Yeah.
But I thought it was just very interesting, and
Which
she
is
got
so,
very popular in the last months too.
yeah, and it's so funny because like sidebar, I had just come across like spiritually, when you are going through like a spiritual enlightenment, it's like at the end of the day, some people detach themselves from the material, right? It's like they officially oppose that. They're like, that's not me. They stay away from social media, they cut themselves off from certain things, and then
Hmm.
they find themselves coming back to it, but it's because now there's no attachment to it. It's like, I can have these things,
Hmm.
but they don't rule me. And I was like, oh. And so when you brought
Yeah.
up bimbo stoicism, I was like, oh my god, it's the same thing. When I was reading on, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it
Yeah.
is. I'm like, you can have all these things, but
Right.
you, as long as you're not detached, and as long as it doesn't influence who you are as a person and your moral beliefs, then we're good. And that's what makes the world a better place.
Yeah, and I saw someone reacting to bimbo stoicism when I was looking at some of the content of this on TikTok, and I like the way he said it, where he said like the core tenets are like, the first one is just like showing up for yourself. Like, you live in this world, so just show up for yourself, right? And the second one was like, the world can be a shitty place, but like you can still persist and like thrive, right? And like, push forward
Mhm.
because you have the right intentions. And then
Yeah.
the third one was just like, don't conform. Like, don't conform to like what society says you should be. You could be like, just do whatever the fuck you want. I mean,
Yeah.
within reason, obviously. And I was like, oh, like that was a fun way to look at it, in the sense, especially if you're trying to pick this up in a way that you can easily start implementing in the way you live, or the way you kind of, your perspective on how you're moving through life, and the way you see, especially because we are living in a time, in a, especially here in America, in a post like Roe v. Wade time, right, where
Mm-hmm.
we have lost, you know, as far as women have come in this country, we have lost a lot of like political, social, and even like bodily autonomy, or like all that is at stake right now, right? So it's just like
Like
something
some
like,
women are losing their agency, and it's super
yeah,
important to remind yourselves that you guys do need to have agency. No matter what it is you prefer, you
to
should always
claim
have
it.
agency for
Yeah.
yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And as this whole movement states, it's like, yes, you can have these different aesthetics and you can present yourself a certain way in the world, but as long as your morals, even morals are also kind of, set up
Yeah, those
society.
are also like
Yeah,
subjective, and like
yeah,
who says what's morally good or what's
yeah.
morally not. That's what I always thought was
So we would
interesting
have to
about
have a conversation
philosophy.
about that. Yeah.
That's what I always thought was interesting about philosophy, when people talk about like virtue and like doing good and stuff, and it's just like, what do you mean by
Mhm.
that?
What
Like,
does that
what
look
is
like?
considering good? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, because it means so
Because a
many
lot of
different
people,
things to
yeah,
people.
and that's why
Yeah,
people get away with something, because they're like, technically, I'm not doing anything bad, because in their eyes, they're like, this is a good thing that I'm doing. I'm doing it for the
right.
better of people. And this is why we have great characters in movies and books, because in their eyes, they're like, I'm doing it for the best of everyone. But everybody's like, ooh, you're killing a whole bunch of people, dude. Like, how is that
Yeah.
for the greater good? But, maybe that'll
It
be a
is. It
conversation
is
for
because,
another
and
episode.
it's like, it's my opinion. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. But I guess going back to the animal totem thing, we kind of did go over it, but for anybody who was wondering, like, how exactly do you determine like what your animal totem is?
Yeah.
It's basically like you have to answer a couple questions, and
Hmm.
it's based off of like your body type, facial features, even your childhood favorites, and like who you are as a person, right? Like, how do you live life? How do you go about making decisions for yourself? And
Yeah.
that kind of dictates like what
Shapes.
animal you
Yeah.
could be, or what type of animal, like in what environment you would land. I know
Hmm.
that she did have a couple quizzes. I did take them. Some of them are a little too, again, it is like kind of give and take,
So,
because some of them are not
yeah.
exactly. So I was
Yeah.
like, because I'm
I
like,
just took
I'm not a
one and I'm
tall
like,
person, but I'm also not short and delicate. So I'm like in between.
that's what I thought, because it's, and how very stoic of her to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in Stoicism is very black and white kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is so on brand.
Yes, so on brand. So we figured that we would kind of pick animals for each other, and then we can like go and present what we actually are, or yeah, based on our quiz.
I
So,
feel, okay,
okay,
go
go
ahead.
go.
No, I feel like I also like, because when I did it for myself, I felt like I got two versions, but that's also because then it's just like, this is what I perceive myself as, but is this really who I am?
Okay, then I'll go first.
Yeah.
So the animal that I think is Shelley's animal totem,
Hmm.
and I know what she was expecting because we've talked about this a lot, but I personally think,
Hmm.
based off all of these things, that she is a polar bear, because
Okay, interesting.
I think polar bears, when you think of polar bears, obviously you think of like the Coca-Cola advertisement, you think Christmas, you think like cuddly, cute, family oriented, but
Yeah.
they're also like fierce and you don't want to fuck with them. You know what I mean? And I think that that really represents who you are as a person, because I think that while they look cute and like not
Cuddly
threatening,
and
you
big
do,
bitches. No, just kidding.
yeah, they're still like big and
They're a
not,
force to be reckoned
yeah,
with.
exactly. A force to be right. Yeah, they have a powerful presence. And I think that you have a very powerful presence that doesn't necessarily come off threatening, but you still know how to present it. You know what I mean? When it comes to like business, or just in your personal life, or when it comes to
I know
standing
how
up
to
for things
command
that
it
you,
when need it.
exactly. There is this sense of like they're not delicate, right? But they look delicate, but they're not. I don't necessarily think, I'm not saying you're delicate, but I do think that people may sometimes think like, Shelly's really nice, blah blah blah. But again, I think that you
She's a
you
bitch
have
on the inside. I'm just kidding.
no. I think you just are a very striking person, and I think polar bears are a good way of kind of culminating all of that, because they are striking, they are powerful, they are
Mhm.
resilient, they live in cold temperatures, they love water, which you do. And yeah,
I do.
to me, you do look like
Love
a
fish
polar
too. I'm
bear.
just kidding.
It's commanding. It has like, there is a grace about polar bears too, I think, and they're untamed but soft.
And we love to nap. We love to
Yeah.
hibernate.
Yeah, but yeah, I see polar bear in you, like
Okay,
the
I love that. That was beautiful. Thank you.
you're
I
welcome.
I do see how I could be how that could be my spiritual animal. I love ositos like that. I do like that. I don't know which test you took because like I didn't like polar bears didn't come up in the totem options from the quiz that I did. So when I took
Well,
it,
no, okay. So this is the test that I took. She had it where it's like, if you got mostly these answers, you're
yeah,
somewhere in this. Like, you could be a bear, you can be
vicinity.
a wolf. So I'm like, to me, or like
Oh,
lions, and then they had like wind animals, and then they had like water animals. I'm like, to me,
oh,
you are definitely in like apex predator, but you're not like, to me, you give more polar bear, not like
yeah,
grizzly bear,
right,
because I think grizzlies are obviously have a more threatening reputation,
yeah,
where polar bears often they get away because their PR is better. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Mhm.
when I think of
So she's
bears
a
and I think
fraud.
of
I'm just
you,
kidding.
no.
I'm just
And I
kidding.
think that's the thing. It's like there's this understanding that polar bears are probably one of the most dangerous type of bear, because there's
Right,
no, if you are faced with a polar bear, it's like you might as well sign your death
your
warrant.
life
Like,
away. Yeah,
yeah, but I think it's because polar bears still have like this, because they're surrounded by snow, the aesthetic, like there is this sense of, again, like it's just
lightness
commanding,
and
like
just
the and also like you, I don't know, your features also, to me, I took that in mind too, because you have dark hair, and I'm not saying you're pale, but also like it's very striking contrast
you know that's my
between,
biggest insecurity. I'm just kidding.
again, taking your insecurities and
Yeah,
making them
that
beautiful.
is
And I
very
think,
spot on.
yeah, so that's why I'm like, a polar bear is so striking, because it's pale, but it has like striking eyes and like a black nose, and it's still striking even though it kind of blends in with its background. So I think
Mhm.
you also digging in your features, I'm like, you have striking dark hair. Your features are not pale again, but you, compared to your face, like there is this juxtaposition, right? Where it's like, whoa, like, so that's why I say polar bear. I just think there's just something
Oh,
elegant
polar
about
bear.
them. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well,
But
I
what
do
did
have a
you
mean fur.
think?
So that's why I'm just like, wait, where were polar bears in my? No, I'm just kidding. I probably didn't get to see all because I did notice that there was some that was just like you could be this or that, the wolf. So I remember the wolf one, and probably polar bears were in that, but I just like didn't really read too much into it. So I ended up in it said cow, horse, bull, or dog.
Hmm. How come?
I don't, huh?
So
Okay,
it
because
was.
so I answered the questions, and then like based on my like answers, that's like the spectrum that it got dropped off on,
Mhm.
and then she just said that they symbolize like prosperity, fertility, and then it gives emotional stability, charm, and prosperity. And I was like, okay, like that's fun,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's why it's funny because it's
You
like,
know what?
how do I perceive?
I
I
could
was
see
like, I love a
cow.
good cow. I
I
love
could
cow
see
because
cow.
they're the same vibe as
Yeah,
like
like
polar
serene,
bears. Yeah.
wholesome. Yeah, I get
Like
that.
I was not offended at all at like the
Yeah,
idea of a cow or even a horse. And
I'm
like I
like,
love
they
dogs.
have, and they both have like dark, like
Yeah.
big
Like
eyes,
horses
but
have
they're
beautiful
peaceful.
eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have, yeah, they're like peaceful. Again, like polar bears have great PR, because I think when it comes to like how they gaze versus like a bear, it's like they're somewhat more trusting in a way.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's how I see them, because again, I'm a Coca-Cola girl and
What
I'm a polar bear girl. So it's like I trust polar bear because of
polar
the
bears, yeah.
PR.
Polar bears give more like their eyes the coyotean and a
Yeah.
grizzly bear would
It's just like
I
no,
don't
but
even
I
look.
can see cow. But you know what kind of cow? I think of like those pretty like brown cows with like
Yeah.
white. Like
Yes.
those are the cows
Like
I
the
imagine.
longhorn ones too are so pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yes,
love
yes, yes,
cows. Like
yes.
for me, cows can
And
be
they have
pretty
like,
majestic and beautiful, and they have the cutest little faces. And they're
yeah.
just, I love that they just
And they're
can just be
calm. Yeah.
lounging the whole time, and they're
Hmm.
also very strong. Like those bitches won't move for the life of them unless they want to.
Yep.
So I don't know. Like I just same thing with a horse and like dog, like cool.
Yeah.
I like dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like I wasn't like mad at it. I was just like, okay, like I can see that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love a good cow.
That's cute.
And I probably just need to read more into it.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so then I had the same had the same concerns and reservations when I was trying to answer it for you. But the ones that came, or the ones that it was giving, was the birds. So it was giving
Mm-hmm.
more of like the birds, and the one that kind of spoke to me more was like the owl, and that was because like owl, you did like owls at some point. No, I'm just kidding. But because you give night owl, and because like the whole aspect of where they like that they can fly, and then not that they're not necessarily stationary, but like they're all like they can move more than anything. They're not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily not that, and it's not that you're not grounded, but it's like for me, owls also give like wisdom, and like their eyes are also very striking. And so for me, I was just like, oh, like if Lucy was a bird, I feel like she would be an owl because
Mm-hmm.
she thrives more at night. And then I was just like, and because of the wisdom stuff, and then I was also like seen as like they also give like very intelligent, they're very smart as well. And then just the part where like, you like to move and you like to do stuff and you're adventurous in that way, and I feel like our owls very much give that. But they're also very much like on their in their own, like they're not always like I feel like they're also very like solitary, and not because they're like loners, they're like they're very like they can they appreciate solitude and they can move on
Mm-hmm.
their own, you know. And then yeah, I was just like, yeah, that's the one that I when it was giving birds, I was like, okay, if Lucy was a if Lucy was a bird, what bird would she be? And when I saw the owl one, that's the one that came more to me.
Just kidding. You know, you know what's so funny?
What?
That I got an owl too.
Oh yeah?
And yeah. And I had already set my mind on I because I was also kind of broken up versus like what I initially thought I would
Yeah.
present at versus like what I present. Because so, and this is where I think physical changes apply because
Okay.
I before I got braces, I had an overbite. So I felt like that elongated my face a little bit more.
Okay.
So often I would think that I would land more on the horse part because
Oh,
body
okay.
wise, I don't think I'm small and delicate, but I also know I'm not a tall, big bitch. But I am like a strong person.
You
So I'm
are,
like,
yes.
the horses are technically big and strong, but they're seen as delicate. You know what I mean? They're seen kind of like so that's why, but facial wise, I was like, maybe a horse back then. But then
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? Let's focus on now.
Mhm.
And that's where I came across an owl. It also landed me on birds. So then I was like, okay, well, what bird would I be if I was a bird?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at first I was like, maybe a crow, but I'm like, no, because I don't have such elongated features.
No, you have a
And
cute
so then,
nose.
yeah, so then I was like, okay, maybe owl, because I do recall most of the time when people meet me,
Mhm.
they do comment on like my eyes and how sometimes
Mhm.
when I make eye contact, they're like, don't look at
Striking.
me, bitch. It's a little too much. It's a little too intense. Don't look at me. And to me, I think that my eyes are probably like the feature that stands out the most in my face,
Mhm.
along with my eyebrows. So then
And
I
that's
came
on brand for owl. Yeah.
owls, specifically long-eared owls. That is my owl that I decided on because I'm like they have like the big ears and that's like
I
my
see it.
eyebrows and then the
Yeah.
big
I just
eyes.
looked up owls right now on Google Images just to like look at the features.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because when I first looked at it, I'm like, if Lucy was an owl, I thought more of like its essence and its vibe, and like the looks came after the fact. So right now, as
Mhm.
you're saying some of these things, like, yeah, it totally makes sense too. Like the little nose, and then like the eyes for sure.
And
And the
I never consider myself to have a small mouth, but I'm
you
like, I
do.
technically do.
You
So I'm
do.
like, yeah, that makes sense. I have a little
I
bird
mean, it
mouth.
opens wide, don't get me
Just
wrong.
kidding.
But like when you're just like normal, like, yeah, it's like a cute little mouth.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think I wanted normally I do, because I also, speaking of Athena and like the Greek goddess, I always,
Mhm.
that was my favorite Greek goddess growing up, and so
Yeah,
she's associated to the owl, funny enough. So I
that
always
makes
had some,
sense.
like my favorite birds till this day are still owls and swans, and I'm like,
Okay, yes.
secretly I wanted a swan, but I'm like, bitch, you don't have a long neck. Calm
Yeah,
down.
it's a bit of a stretch.
I was like, ugh, but I'm like, bitch, I literally had to check myself. I'm like, bitch, you don't have a long neck. Like, be
Yeah, it's
fucking
just
for
like
real right
that's
now.
what I'm saying. It's like this test was hard because when it was like
Yeah.
the idea of who I am in my head versus what you literally are.
Yeah. But I do agree. I think for me also owls, because they're very observant. I
Yes,
consider myself a very
and
observant
like
person.
quiet,
I like
like
to
in their
watch
moment. Yes,
before like speaking.
yes,
I do think I'm a very, to some extent, I do notice patterns, right? In
yes,
situations, I do like
yeah.
looking into details. That's like one of my biggest things. And I think some of the biggest things that people complain about me is that I'm always looking for context versus
Mhm.
just looking at it on the surface, which
Face value.
sometimes
Yeah,
annoys people because they're like, why are you always asking fucking questions? I'm like, bitch, I need to know everything, you know?
exactly.
And yeah, I love learning.
She's
Um
wise too because of all that she knows and all the experiences that she's amassed.
yeah. And I also have a, when I say I dive into rabbit holes, like that is literally me. Like I concentrate so intensely that I can focus on a project without getting distracted. Like I wish
Yeah,
sometimes I could get distracted, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I should, no, bitch, fucking focus. You need to finish this. Like you need to
yeah.
finish
She
this
locks
now.
in.
Instead of
Yeah,
taking a break, like I can come. No, I'm the person. I'm like, I need to get this done. I'm gonna get this done now, and that's how I've always been in
she
college. Like when
is.
it came to studying, I'm like, I'm just gonna study through the night. I'm not. I think that's where we kind of differ, because
Yes.
you're like, I'm
Yeah.
going to bed and I'll study in the morning. I'm like, no, bitch, I need to
No,
study through the
I need
night.
a break. Like,
Yeah.
even like, I think when we were out late and we're like, oh, we have to do this tomorrow, we have to be up early, like if it was work or something,
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I'm just going to pull an all nighter. Are you
Yeah.
crazy? If I can get at least 30 minutes, an hour, I'm gonna sleep because I need to shut off my brain. I need to relax. Even if it's just an hour, 30 minutes, I will take it. And you're like, no,
No. But
I
see,
can't
because for
do that.
me, I can't go to sleep and wake up in an hour or 30 minutes. Like if I'm going to sleep, I'm going to sleep. And
She's like, I
that's why
go
I'm
bye
like, I don't
bye.
trust myself.
Yeah, and I feel
But
like
that's so
owls
funny.
be that way
Yeah,
too. Like,
because that's where we're the most creative and
yeah,
awake. It's during the night. So I was like, it's
yes,
perfect. But I also get what you were saying about like the solitude aspect, because
yeah,
for, at least for me, I'm a very selective person when it comes to my friendships.
mhm,
So I would rather have like more meaningful friendships and like
yeah.
deep meaningful friendships over like a huge social group. Not saying that I don't enjoy a huge
No, you
social group.
are
Actually, I
social.
thrive.
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as like it comes to being introverted, I guess in that aspect, to be, I prefer that over that. But also I do tend to recharge best when I'm
Best.
by myself and in my
Yeah.
own like personal
Element.
space that
Yeah.
I have created for myself.
Yeah, your own safe haven. And
Hmm.
honestly, and when I saw the owl, I was like, yeah, because like Lucy's not one to like you're not like a bird that's gonna flock to like you it's not like you're gonna flock to someone else. Like you're your own person. Like you don't conform to other things. Like in the sense that you're not a follower, you're a leader in many ways. So that's why I was like the owl can stand alone and it's solitude and it's not and again it's not necessarily that you're like lonely or that you like you're not social but it's just like
I
that's
pick and
not like
choose who I want to be social.
yeah
Yeah.
you're more yeah exactly um
And I guess diving into the insecurities part, because this is kind of why the reason we're so one of my, I'm not gonna say my biggest insecurities, because I guess this is one of the insecurities that I have had issues dealing with,
mhm.
is my ojeras. And not necessarily because they're dark, but more so because I have deep set eyes, which is how I came across or decided that an owl would be fitting, because their eyes are like deep set, and I have a deep set eyes, which comes to play because this is why I have my cheekbones, right? This is why they're prominent.
Yes, yes.
But at the same time, every single time that for instance, I'm not wearing makeup, there is the comment of like, you look tired. when I'm not. That's why I was like, I also came at it at a point of like, what is something that I'm technically insecure about, and
Mhm.
something that maybe if compared to an owl or like an animal, I would feel a little better about it. And I'm like, yeah, owls represent all of this and they have that feature, therefore I
Yeah, and
should
they're
feel good
beautiful and
about it.
majestic animals in their own right.
And that's so funny that this came up because I think, at least personally, I've been going back and forth about doing PRP, which is supposed to be good for your skin. It helps like
Oh,
rejuvenate your skin and like get rid
you
of old
have
skin
been
cells.
talking about that. Yeah.
However, people also use it to like fill in the hollows of their eyes.
Mm.
And I was going back and forth on doing that because I'm like, oh, just out of curiosity, it's not a permanent thing, because I know
Mhm.
some people do like filler to like try to
Like
permanently
smoothing
almost.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, because I've watched Botched, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about filler because I have seen it doesn't look that great sometimes. So I was like,
Mhm.
PRP would probably be a better option because it's natural, because it's literally using your the liquid gold of your blood to like,
Mhm.
rejuvenate your face. And it's
Right.
just better for your skin. It's a little more natural, but it
Mhm.
eventually goes away. So it's not a permanent thing. But then I was like, you know what? Like, I think I was looking at my grandma, and then I was looking at Theo, because Theo also has like a little bit of the same features. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
think he's a beautiful baby. And I'm like,
And therefore I am.
and therefore I am. No, but I
No,
think my grandma
literally.
has it too. And I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
some of our family members do have this. And I'm like, and they
It's
look
a unique.
great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's, again, the fear of like, how would this look like once I'm aged? And am I going to look great? So I'm like, as long as you're doing what you're doing and like obviously aging gracefully, again, the fear of
Yeah.
aging is something that we have to like break down a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I came to this. You're an owl, bitch. You,
Oh
you're
my God.
okay.
Yeah, no. You're like, you're beautiful. Your
You're
face looks like sunshine.
beautiful. Your
And
eyes
your eyes look like.
are huge.
No, I think that's awesome that this, in a way, helped you reaffirm and even embrace your features and be like, this is something that is beautiful. Like, I am beautiful. And even though it was an insecurity or is an insecurity, it's something that you can feel
Mhm.
better about because it doesn't necessarily have to be an insecurity.
Yeah. But
Um,
if you guys see me do PRP, mind your business.
Honestly, at the end of the day, it's not to say that you're not going to do it like ever. It could very
Mhm.
much come up later on in life because, we are aging, right? It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Um, and if later on, if it makes sense and you want to try it, the good thing is, like you said, it's not necessarily permanent. So it could be something that
You
that
know,
you benefit from or that
you
you
know what kind
enjoy.
of talked me out of it? I was like, if I fill my hollowed eyes, that means that my whole face is going to look flat, because the only thing that makes my
True.
cheekbones pop is the
Is
fact that I have
that
hollowed eyes.
That's true. And you
So if
have
I
great
already and I'm
cheekbones.
like, I already have a somewhat round oval face. So I'm like, me
Yeah.
flattening this is not going to do me any favors. I'm just going to look like a huge moon face. De por sí ya la tengo because I have
For
PCOS.
real.
So I'm like, I need to calm down. I need to save what little
Don't
definition I have.
Wait, that is such a good point. I had not considered that, but you're right. Yeah, like maybe,
Yeah.
and again, it's not maybe that you won't ever do it, but just not now. It doesn't make sense for
Yeah.
you to do it now. That's how
Yeah.
I felt
And
about my nose
at
job.
least not permanently, you know?
Yeah.
And this is
I
why
was
we got to
just
think about, and this is why I was telling Shelly, like, you got to think about, if you're going to change
every,
something, you better think of everything that it'll
everything.
affect, because it's not just a nose job
Well,
sometimes,
I
you
really
know?
was just trying to. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're like, I'm going to get a lip flip.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
do
I
need one
can't
of
get a
those.
lip flip because I'm like, de por sí, like, the distance between my nose and my mouth is already so short. So imagine,
No, and I
like,
feel like you already have like a really nice cupid's bow and your lip already, especially when you line it.
but a lip flip is supposed just to, like, give you, like, a plumper look. Ew.
Mm. Don't do it. Don't just kidding.
Don't do it.
I don't think it's gonna look like that because you open your mouth all wide and stuff.
No, but
But
it's so small. My mouth's small, so it's like the gum is gonna poke through. You know what I mean? You know how some people get lip
yeah,
flipped
don't
and the
do it.
bottom of their gum like shows, and
No,
they can't
yeah.
close their mouth now because it's like, that's weird.
And what animal does that look like? Just kidding. When that can't close its mouth. Just kidding.
Anyways, but yeah, so
Well, I
basically
love
that's
this
how
exercise for
the
us.
animal totem thing works. It's like, what animal, based on personality, based off
Yeah.
of physical attributes, and maybe sometimes insecurities, can
Yeah.
you use as a point reference of natural beauty in
Yes,
nature?
and celebrate the natural uniqueness rather than like chasing this like homogenized ideal of what it
Yeah.
is like to be beautiful and
You guys,
stuff.
I'm gonna
Or
put a picture of Shelly and me with our animals right
we
here.
should.
Ready?
That'd
Five,
be so
four,
fun.
three, two, one.
What am
Let
I
us
like?
know.
"Grr."
No, I'm just gonna use one of your birthday photos and just next to a
Oh
polar bear
yeah.
so you can
Mm.
see the what I'm trying to say. I feel like I didn't say what I
No,
wanted to
I
say,
no, I think you
but
did. Like it
I
felt very much like a love letter to me, and it was beautiful. I
oh
appreciate it. So
I
I was not taken aback in any way that you said in comparison to a polar bear. I definitely saw it. It was just like I said, polar bears didn't come across my desk when I did it. So that's why I was like, oh my God, where did you see polar bears? Because whatever test I fucking took didn't have it. Or maybe I just like overlooked it.
no yeah because it
Um,
was more so apex predators again. It was bears. I think it had
well, I
like
think I saw
wolves and then so I'm like and I think lions were also because I know because you're a Leo,
she's a lion, she's a cat.
you would want lion as your animal.
But I
I
know it's
considered
not.
it,
Yeah.
and then I was like, it's not.
It's
And
not.
then
I'm not.
I
I
was
know.
like, what?
I took the test. I'm like, bitch, you are not this one.
You're not a lion.
It's already
Yeah.
enough that you're a fire sign, that you are a Leo, and that is enough. That is as much of a Leo you're gonna have in your
You know
life.
what other animal I almost considered too,
Which one?
based off of old photos, just because I wanted to see. Aside from horse, I think it was like it was a stag, not a deer. It was like a
What's a
stag with the
stag?
horns, the male version of it.
Oh, okay,
Because they
okay.
have like a more not a more delicate
Let me look this up.
their face isn't delicate, it's more I don't know how to describe it, but they have like a more it's not as
Uh,
delicate as a deer.
oh yeah, and they're more
Yeah,
striking.
again I was basing it more off of the
The bite or
attribute that
your
stands out the most.
eyes.
Yeah, so I was like
I
between a
see it.
horse, a deer, and then what I really wanted was technically a wolf. But then I was like, no, bitch, you're a fucking bird. Because your body, again, owls, bodies, they're not like small and delicate, but they're still pretty like strong and majestic. So that's
They
how I
are.
feel,
They are pretty
you know?
majestic animal. I mean, think in when I think of an owl,
Broad shoulders,
I think it's a
literally my
majestic.
body. The body of an owl is literally, and that is me.
Wow, you really went into
I
it.
really went into it. Like all the
I love that.
insecurities. It was like the body.
You're like, let me write down all of my insecurities and see
Yeah.
which one most closely aligns with what animal.
Caca. Oh, wait, wrong animal.
Someone did her homework. I love it.
But yeah, let us know how do you guys feel about bimbo stoicism? Do you guys consider yourself a stoic person? And what is your animal totem?
I will, yeah, for sure. Figure out what your totem is. I'd love to hear what everybody's totem is. We should start doing it for our families and be like, this is what yours is.
I
We
was
need
trying
to
to
do
think
one
of
for
what your
Bree
sisters. Oh yeah, for
and my
Brie
sister
and your
too.
sister. Yeah, I was like, oh, what would like guidance be? I think I have an animal in mind in the water kingdom.
Yeah.
Also, because they're very majestic, and that's the only reason I have it in mind. But I think your sister, comparison to you, because you guys have very similar features, but I think the vibe is very different. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's where it's like, do we deviate or do
yeah.
we add another
I'm like, do
iteration
we
of it?
find another iteration of a bear? Or
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I was like, but I feel like she's in the water kingdom.
She probably is, ironically enough.
She's majestic.
Yep. She's a mermaid. No, I'm just kidding. That's not even an animal. Yeah. Let us know what your animals are. And I guess final thoughts and feedback
Final
on the
thoughts.
movement, on the core
Um,
tenets of it.
I think it's more so be yourself. Don't just because it's a movement about empowerment doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like apply like Shelly said everything about the movement to yourself. You can pick
Right.
and choose the pieces that are good for you and work for you. So if
Mhm.
bimbo core is not a thing that you want to like aesthetically take on,
Yeah.
work with your aesthetic but apply the philosophy as far as like it
Yeah.
doesn't your aesthetic doesn't make you because it could be applied to anything. It'd be like gothic core, emo core,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is just an aesthetic. It's how you choose to present, but it doesn't make you who you are.
Yeah, or at least it shouldn't. Like that should
Yeah.
not be your personality
Yeah,
only. You know,
exactly.
there's more
So
to you. There certainly should be more to you than just what you're
and I
presenting.
guess that's the question. It's like, who are you outside of your aesthetic, outside of your job,
Appearances, yeah.
outside of your
The physical
sexuality,
stuff. Yeah.
outside of your gender? Who are you?
I'm a
And
girl. I'm just kidding.
outside of your gender, girl.
Yeah, no, I was just joking. I feel like, yeah, I guess look deep and see what your virtues are, and virtues that are not necessarily like anything that Lucy just mentioned.
Yeah. And that's how you should move forward in life. And maybe if we did that more often, this world can start healing.
Yeah, we would hope so.
Just kidding.
But we definitely invite you guys to look into it, to try to, like, you know, see a couple videos to see what your thoughts are on it. If it, you might pick up something cool from it, some interesting new perspective. Take the test. I think it would be fun. Like, even the whole aspect, like Lucy said, looking at the insecurities and seeing how you can turn it into something that's empowering, or just you feeling better about yourself, and sort of rejecting the idea that whatever your insecurities are based on the notion of what is pretty or what should be considered pretty, right? I think it'd be fun. I think when I was reading some of the stoicism stuff, I remember when I first read Epictetus. I think that's the one we did. And I remember when I read it, I was like, oh my God, like I can get down with this. Like I like the
Mhm.
idea. Like that's where I really like, I like the idea of being in control of my own emotions, or to not let other things, like outside things, influence me or my reactions to things. So I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But then I found it problematic in other aspects. But I definitely did always appreciate just this idea of the like being indifferent to things and stuff.
Yeah, I do think that, like with everything, like we said, there is a double-edged sword because it could technically encourage ignorance, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
act of like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, or like,
Yeah.
and this is probably why we are where we are in politics and
Yeah.
everything. So there is definitely like with everything a
It's
spectrum of
problematic.
how
Yeah.
far you go with things. Because it's so funny too, because I'm like, obviously we always go with the whole idea of like it happened for a reason, right? Like there's a reason a lot of these things happen. So that's why when I was going over this, I was like, oh, because I do consider myself a spiritual person. So that's why like I could see myself aligning myself with the spiritual aspect of like there's a greater plan. But
Mm.
also I do believe like it is not something that you can control, and you shouldn't let things you can't control get in your mind. And that's how I'll also move. So again, we're in between. We're not stoic
Yeah.
apparently. We're
Yeah, no,
very
yeah, because I do think like in its own, I think it also was very rigid in a lot of aspects. And for what
Mhm.
reason in my head, or at least I'm just like, why would you want to live like this? You know,
Yeah.
like everything in moderation is what I like to say. And then, yeah, and then also just because, like, first of all, I'm living in, what is this, the 22nd, or is this still the 21st century?
No idea. Probably.
Well, I'm living in 2026. These foods were like before Christ, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like I obviously am not going to live my life according to them, especially they're men. Like, what the fuck do they know? Right. So, yeah,
Yes.
like, again, take it
I
with a grain
just
of
checked
salt.
Google. We are still in the 21st century.
Okay. So, we're in the 21st century. So, it's just like, what? Yeah. Like, it just doesn't make sense that I would like live my life according to them.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a interesting concept. That's why, like, I took what I liked from stoicism and just some of the aspects,
Yeah. And that's what I
and
was
then
saying. I'm like, oh, it's so interesting. Obviously, even then when we learned about it, I'm like, oh, I'm still kind of already kind of doing it, but not
yeah.
to the T. And that's like we said, we can apply. There's a lot of intersectionalism with everything because there's a lot of
Right.
things that play
Nuance.
into
Yeah.
that. A lot of your culture, your background, right? Your race,
Yeah.
all of that plays into it. So, like religion, and
Exactly.
even religion obviously plays is a factor in what type of stoicism you choose to partake, if you choose to partake. If anything, I think now I'm gonna have to start looking in because I wanted to start reading philosophy books again, and I was
You
trying to
did. You mentioned that a
yeah.
while
So I was
ago.
like, great. Now we have to look for a lot of philosophical again. Sorry, I got it. That
Remember
is
from
it.
the House Bunny, how
Yeah,
Shelly, every time she tried to say philanthropy, she
and it's
kept
a
on like,
circle. And it's
and
a
that,
circle.
that was just you right now trying to say philosophical.
And see how we bring it back, guys. We bring it
And
back,
we
and
were
we're back.
always, yeah, it's a
All right,
circle.
it's a
Yeah.
circle.
And on
See,
that note,
Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Remember,
Yes.
don't let things that you can't control
Affect
take
you more
or
than they
affect your life or affect your emotions. There's just some things you can't control, and you kind of just have to either figure out what you can control and
Yeah.
what the solution for that is.
Focus on your own
Hmm.
behaviors and how your own behaviors can help you, show up better for yourself
Hmm.
and for your community in this world.
Yep. All right, everyone. See you guys on the next episode. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us on
On
Bitch Up.
this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bitch
We'll
up
see you on the next
and
one.
be a bimbo.
Right? A stoic one, at least. Be
Bye,
whatever you
guys.
want to be. Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.